There is a version of you that has already given up. Not out loud, not in front of anyone, but somewhere quiet, in the back of your mind. That version of you has already accepted that this is just how life is going to be. Tired, stuck, waiting for something to change without ever changing anything yourself. And if you are honest with yourself right now, some part of you already knows that. You clicked on this not because you needed information. You clicked on this because something inside you is screaming for a way out. And you don't even know what that way out looks like yet. So stay with me, because what I am about to tell you is not motivation. It is not some feel-good speech you forget by tomorrow morning. This is the thing that, if you actually let it sink in, will quietly rearrange the way you see your entire life. I am not here to make you feel good for 5 minutes. I am here to make you uncomfortable enough that you finally do something about the life you have been settling for. Most people don't fail because they are lazy or not talented enough. Most people fail because somewhere along the way, they made peace with a smaller version of their own life. They stopped asking for more. They stopped believing they deserved more. And slowly, without even noticing it, they became a spectator in their own story, watching other people live the life they secretly wanted for themselves. If that sentence made your chest tighten even a little, that is not an accident. That is your own soul telling you the truth before your mind has time to make excuses. By the end of this video, you are going to hear about a speech, a real speech, given by a real person at one of the lowest points of their life, that ended up changing not just their own future, but the future of everyone who ever heard it. And once you understand what was actually said, and why it hit people so hard, you will not be able to look at your own excuses the same way again. So don't scroll away, because somewhere in the next few minutes is the exact sentence you have been needing to hear your entire life, and you won't know which one it is until it hits you. Let me take you back to a moment most people never talk about. It was not a stage with bright lights. It was not a packed stadium. It was a small, quiet room, almost empty, where a person who had lost nearly everything stood in front of a handful of people who did not even believe he would show up. He had failed publicly, more than once. He had been laughed at. He had been told, directly to his face, that he was wasting his life. And on that day, he was not there to prove anyone wrong. He was there because he had nothing left to lose. The most powerful words in human history were almost never spoken by people who had everything figured out. They were spoken by people standing at the edge, finally telling the truth, because pretending had stopped working. He did not open with confidence. He opened with honesty. He told that small room that he had spent years lying to himself, telling himself that tomorrow would somehow be different, without ever actually becoming a different person today. Then he said something that made the entire room go silent. He said, "Most people don't fail because life is hard. They fail because they keep negotiating with their own comfort. And comfort always wins when nothing is forcing you to change." Think about how many times you have made a promise to yourself. This year I will change. This month I will start. Tomorrow I will finally do it. And somehow tomorrow always turns into next week. Next week turns into next month. And next month quietly turns into another year gone. Another version of you still waiting on the sidelines of your own life. That is not weakness. That is simply what happens when you have never been forced to confront the gap between who you are and who you actually want to become. And that room, that day, was the first time many of the people listening had ever been forced to look directly at that gap without being able to look away. He continued, and this is where it gets uncomfortable, because he did not offer comfort. He offered clarity. He told them that the life they were living was not happening to them. It was being built by them, one small avoided decision at a time. Every time you choose the easier option, you are voting for the person you are going to become. He said, you are not tired because life is too much. You are tired because you have been living a life that does not match who you actually are inside. And pretending is more exhausting than changing ever could be. If you have ever felt exhausted even when nothing dramatic was happening in your life, that sentence was written for you. By this point, people in that room were no longer just listening, they were remembering every dream they had quietly buried, because someone told them it was unrealistic, remembering every version of themselves they had abandoned, because it was easier to shrink than to risk being seen trying and failing. He said the most dangerous thing in the world is not failure, it is a comfortable life you never really wanted, because failure teaches you something, but comfort just slowly steals your years without you noticing, until one day you wake up and wonder where your life actually went. Here is where the speech shifted, and this is the part almost nobody expects. He did not tell them to dream bigger. He told them to get honest smaller. Stop trying to change your whole life overnight, because that is exactly why you keep quitting. Instead, change the next 10 minutes. Change the next decision. Your entire life is not one big moment. It is thousands of small decisions stacked on top of each other. And your future is decided in those small, unglamorous moments nobody is watching. Nobody sees you choose to wake up early. Nobody claps when you say no to the distraction and yes to the hard thing. But that is exactly where your future is quietly being built or quietly being destroyed. Decision by decision, day by day. He told them something else that made grown adults in that room start crying. He said, "You keep waiting to feel ready. But readiness is not something that arrives before action. It is built by action." Nobody who ever changed their life felt fully ready before they started. They started scared, hands trembling, minds screaming at them to turn back. And they did it anyway. That is the actual definition of courage, not the absence of fear. Doing the thing while the fear is still sitting right there next to you. You might be asking, who was this person? Did his life actually change? The answer is yes, but not because of luck, or because someone discovered him, or because things suddenly got easier. His life changed because from that day forward, he stopped negotiating with his own excuses. He kept the promise he made to himself in that small, quiet room, even when nobody else believed he would. There were still bad days. There were still moments he wanted to quit. Moments where the old, comfortable version of himself tried to pull him back in. But every single time, he made the same choice, again and again, until the choice stopped feeling like a fight and started feeling like who he actually was. And slowly, decision after decision, the same person who had been laughed at became someone whose words are still repeated by people who were not even alive when he first said them. But here is the part most people miss completely. And it is the entire reason I am telling you this today. The power was never really in the words themselves. The power was in the fact that he actually lived what he said. So many people can say inspiring things. Very few are willing to become the proof of their own words. And that is the real test in front of you right now. You have probably heard motivational words before, felt something for 20 minutes, and then gone right back to the exact same life. The exact same excuses. If that is true, I am not here to judge you. I am here to tell you that today does not have to be like every other day you almost changed. Because right now, you have a choice most people never consciously make. You can close this video and let this feeling fade away like it always does. Or you can decide, right now, that this is the day the negotiating stops. Not tomorrow, not after you feel ready. Right now. You do not need a perfect plan. You do not need everyone to believe in you. You just need to make one honest decision and follow it for the next 10 minutes, and then the next 10 after that. That is how every person who ever changed their life actually did it, not with one giant leap, but with the refusal to keep lying to themselves about what they were capable of. So let me ask you something, and I want you to actually answer this honestly, not to me, but to yourself. What is the one thing you have been avoiding because it feels too hard, too late, or too uncertain? Whatever came to your mind just now, that is not a coincidence. That is the exact thing this video was meant to bring back to the surface. And the only question left is whether you are finally going to stop negotiating with it, or whether you are going to close this tab and let another year quietly disappear. If any part of this reached something inside you, do not let that feeling die in silence. Write it down in the comments. Tell me the one decision you are finally going to stop avoiding, because saying it out loud, even to strangers on the internet, is often the first real step people take toward becoming who they were always meant to be. And if you want more of this, more truth, more of the kind of words that actually change the direction of your life, then subscribe right now, because this channel exists for exactly one reason: to keep reminding you of who you are capable of becoming until you finally believe it yourself. Somewhere out there, someone needed to hear exactly this today. Maybe that someone was you. Do not waste it.